This whole segment I'm about to talk about is going to sound a lot like hate, but it's not. It's not hate at all. It's going to sound like it, but it's not. It might sound a little harsh as well, but it's not. It's honesty. So the Seahawks signed DK Metcalf to a 3-year, $72 million extension that includes $58.2 million guaranteed. The deal includes $30 million signing bonus. That's the highest ever for a wide receiver. We're going to talk about Draymond Green and the relationship between him and Golden State in a second. And one when we talk about contracts, and one thing that has been a constant on this podcast is value. You see, DK Metcalf is a freak athlete. Do not get me wrong. DK Metcalf, with the combination of his speed, his strength, his size, he's a freak of nature. And don't get me wrong. I'm not here to say that I'm not here to say, certain X player did not deserve this amount of money. I'm never going to say that. I think that, especially in sports, you never know when your time is up. So try to get as much as you can while you can. But when we talk about value, man, it's hard for me to justify giving DK Metcalf this amount of money for the Seahawks. And here's why. DK Metcalf, in my opinion, is not a top 10 wide receiver. Now, you can argue with it. I do think he's phenomenal. To me, he drops a lot of passes that he shouldn't. But he's just not a top 10 top 10 wide receiver. Now no. The reason why I don't understand why the Seahawks made this deal is because how valuable is DK Metcalf to this team? And I mean by that is the Seahawks are not a good team in the slightest. The starting quarterback is Drew Lock, and I think the backup is Geno Smith. You don't have a good running game. Chris Carson, shouts out to him. Shouts out to him for being able to do this on his own power, but he retired due to a constant neck injury. KJ Wright just retired as well. He was also on the Raiders, but the running game is bad. The quarterback position is bad. The offensive line is bad. The defense is bad. There was just a report saying that there's no Jamal Adams, the safety, is out indefinitely. They don't know when he's going to come back due to surgery, I believe. So you're paying all this money for a player that's not, in my opinion, not going to change anything for you. This team is going to be bad. Now, you could have paid this player to then trade him. I don't know. But it's going to be hard to trade him because not too many teams can hold this contract. So, in my opinion, it's like I understand you do this when you have a top-tier quarterback throwing him the ball. Like, I understand you making this decision when you had Russell Wilson. Because at that point, DK Metcalf's value is drastically different than it is with a incompetent quarterback. And when I say incompetent, I'm not saying incompetent like he can't play, but incompetent as far as Drew Lock. It's hard. You can't put Drew Lock in the same sentence as winning because he hasn't done it. Not saying he hasn't won a game, but he's not a winning quarterback. So this deal looks a lot different if DK Metcalf plays for Green Bay or DK Metcalf plays for a top tier quarterback. You see, I understand not wanting to lose the asset. I understand you don't want to lose DK Metcalf because he's, at this point, your best player. Maybe between him and Tyler Lockett. But Tyler Lockett's kind of getting up there in age. So I understand that DK Metcalf is your best player, but what the Seahawks are still going to be bad this year. Like, very bad. Like, outside of the Falcons, they might be the worst team. And I'm kind of leaning towards the Falcons a little better because at least the Falcons got Kyle Pitts, and that might be it. Oh, they got Marcus Mariota, and I trust Marcus Mariota before I trust Drew Lock. Not saying it's a huge difference, but I'm just saying, man. And again, I know this sounds like hate. I know it sounds like I'm bashing a player, but I'm not. It's just this is what happens when an organization isn't run the best. I understand you don't want to lose DK Metcalf, but what happens if you lose him? Or what happens, here's the thing, you could still trade him. What happens if you trade him and get a bunch of assets back? Because the team is going to want DK Metcalf. Like I said, DK Metcalf looks a lot different if he played for Green Bay, if he played for the Rams, if he played for the Bucks, if he played for one of the Colts, a team that needs a wide receiver. Well, maybe not the Bucks, but it's just like for the Seahawks, what's happening? Now he'll be a free agent again at the age 27. Which, of course, he can still get another deal, but it's just, it just. So now, this kind of prevents, unless they make a trade with someone, this kind of prevents the Seahawks from being able to improve their team, which needs improving. So, shouts out to DK Metcalf for getting, the 3-year extension because he was one of a few players. I know Debo was one of them, but reports are that deal can get done in the very near future, but one of those players that's holding out due to a contract. I know Terry McLaurin was one of them. So shouts out to them. I don't know if I articulated it well. I don't know. It just doesn't seem why the Seahawks make this deal when DK Metcalf does nothing for your team. Not saying that he's not good, but does nothing for your team as far as the win column, especially when you have the quarterback that you have throwing him the ball. That's